Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the show. I'm Miles, your host and representative from Back to Your Roots Herbs. Today, we are tackling the single biggest invisible barrier to your health in 2026. We're talking about cortisol, but we aren't talking about the old school generic advice you might have heard 5 years ago. We are looking at the cutting edge clinical reality of how we manage stress right now in 2026. Before we get started, make sure you check out the description below. We've listed the specific herbs and resources we're going to discuss today so you can follow along. Let's be real for a second. The way we understand stress has completely changed. Back in the day, we thought of stress as fight or flight. You see a tiger, you run, stress is over. But living in our modern industrial environment, that system, specifically the HPA axis, that's the connection between your brain and your adrenal glands, it never really shuts off. It's just humming in the background. And that hum is what drives everything from brain fog to that stubborn weight around your midsection. What's fascinating is that the clinical consensus has shifted. We don't just throw calming teas at people anymore. That's precision neuroendocrinology. It's about matching the right plant to your specific type of burnout. Are you wired and anxious? Are you completely exhausted and dragging yourself out of bed? Or are you noticing that stress is messing with your blood sugar and waistline? Because the herb you pick for one of those problems could actually make the other one worse. Let's start with the most common feeling I hear about. It's that wired but tired sensation. You're exhausted all day, but as soon as your head hits the pillow, your brain decides it's time to replay every awkward conversation you've had since 2015. This is usually a sign of high cortisol that isn't dropping when it should. For this, ashwagandha remains the absolute heavyweight champion. But here is where the 2026 data gets really interesting. We used to think it was just a sedative. But recent studies, specifically the meta-analyses from last year in 2025, showed us that ashwagandha actually works by lowering the thermostat of your stress response. It reduces the sensitivity of your adrenal cortex so that when life throws a curveball, your body doesn't overreact. There was this incredible finding in the 2025 review called the perceived stress paradox. They found that ashwagandha was lowering people's physical cortisol levels by up to 32% in some cases. Biologically, the stress was gone, but some people still reported feeling stressed on the questionnaires. That tells us something profound. The herb clears the biological noise, the inflammation, and the hormone spikes, but you still have to do the mindset work. It's not a magic pill that fixes your boss or your commute, but it stops your body from destroying itself while you deal with them. Now, if you're looking for this herb, you have to be careful. In 2026, using generic root powder is basically obsolete. You want to look for wild harvested root powder. And we're even seeing nano-emulsion technology now. These are liquid formulations where the particles are so small they absorb instantly, bypassing the digestion issues we used to see. Just a quick heads up though, because ashwagandha can stimulate thyroid function, if you are on thyroid medication or have an overactive thyroid, you need to be careful with this one. But what if you aren't wired? What if you are just done? I'm talking about burnout. The alarm goes off and you feel physically heavy. You drink 3 coffees and you don't feel energetic, you just feel jittery and tired. This is a different animal. This is where your cells are actually struggling to produce energy. For this, we turn to Rhodiola rosea. If ashwagandha is a warm blanket, Rhodiola is a clean, cold shower. It wakes you up. It's known as an anti-fatigue agent. The mechanism here is brilliant. It inhibits enzymes called MAOA and MAOB. These are the enzymes that chew up your serotonin and dopamine. By blocking them, Rhodiola keeps those feel-good and focus chemicals floating around in your brain longer. It also works directly on your mitochondria, the power plants of your cells, to help generate more ATP. That's actual physical energy. There was a landmark study on night shift doctors that showed Rhodiola significantly reduced that mental fog you get when you're pushing through a deadline. However, you have to respect the timing. You must take Rhodiola in the morning on an empty stomach. If you take this at 4 p.m., you will not sleep. It's that effective. And because it works on those brain chemicals, you have to be cautious if you're taking anything else for mood, like SSRIs, because they play in the same sandbox. Now, let's pivot to a type of stress that is incredibly common but rarely talked about in this context. Metabolic stress. You know the feeling, you're stressed, so you crave sugar. You eat the sugar, your blood sugar spikes, then it crashes, and that crash releases more cortisol, which makes you crave more sugar. It's a vicious cycle. The herb for this is holy basil, also known as Tulsi. In Ayurveda, they call it the queen of herbs. and in 2026, we call it a metabolic modulator. It's rich in compounds like eugenol and ursolic acid. What makes holy basil unique is that it targets the metabolic fallout of stress. It helps improve insulin sensitivity and lipid profiles. Think of holy basil as the bridge between your mental health and your physical metabolism. If your stress manifests as weight gain around the middle, that cortisol belly, this is the plant you want to look at. It's gentle but powerful. A 2022 trial showed it lowered cortisol in both hair and saliva significantly. But I have to give you a serious warning on this one that often gets overlooked. Holy basil has a mild blood thinning effect. It inhibits platelet aggregation. So, if you are on blood thinners or if you have a surgery coming up, you need to stop taking this 2 weeks beforehand. It's powerful medicine, and we have to treat it with respect. Moving on, we have to talk about the most controversial herb in the cortisol toolkit. This is for the people who are in stage 3 adrenal fatigue. This is when your cortisol isn't high, it's rock bottom. You have no anti-inflammatory response left. You're aching. You're exhausted. For this specific state, we use licorice root. And I don't mean the candy, and I don't mean DGL licorice, which is good for your stomach but useless for cortisol. I mean the whole root containing glycyrrhizin. Here is the science. Your kidneys have an enzyme that breaks down cortisol to clear it from your body. Licorice root inhibits that enzyme. Essentially, it forces your body to recycle its own cortisol, keeping it in your system longer. If you are running on empty, this can be a lifesaver. It helps you get through the day without collapsing. But, and this is a massive but, you have to be incredibly careful. Because cortisol looks a lot like aldosterone to your kidneys. Preserving too much of it can cause you to retain salt and water while dumping potassium. This leads to high blood pressure. In 2026, the consensus is strict. Do not use whole licorice root for more than 4 to 6 weeks, and never use it if you have high blood pressure or heart issues. It is a powerful tool for a specific job, not a daily wellness tonic. So, how do we put this all together into a day that protects you from the modern world? What does the perfect 2026 protocol look like? Well, it respects your circadian rhythm. Your body is supposed to have high cortisol in the morning to wake you up and low cortisol at night to let you sleep. So, at 7 o'clock a.m., right when you wake up, that is your window for Rhodiola rosea, 200 to 600 milligrams. It kickstarts your brain and supports that morning energy spike so you don't feel groggy. Then, around noon, if you feel that afternoon slump or sugar craving coming on, that is where you introduce holy basil. It keeps your blood sugar stable and keeps you focused without the jitters. Then, as the sun goes down around 6 o'clock p.m., we need to tell the body to switch gears. This is where ashwagandha shines. You take your wild harvested ashwagandha, maybe 300 milligrams, and it starts to dampen that HPA axis, signaling to your body that the danger of the day is over. And if you need extra support at bedtime, say 9 o'clock p.m., you can stack that with something like lemon balm or magnesium glycinate. Lemon balm is fantastic because it stops the breakdown of GABA, which is your brain's primary relaxation chemical. It's like a gentle brake pedal for your nervous system. The technology we have access to now, from nanoemulsions that get into your system in minutes to the precise understanding of these molecular pathways, puts us in a completely different league than we were a few years ago. We don't have to guess anymore. We can look at your symptoms, whether you are wired, burned out, or dealing with metabolic stress, and pick the exact tool for the job. But remember, these herbs are tools. They are meant to support a lifestyle where you are also prioritizing sleep, eating real food, and maybe saying no to a few things on your to-do list. I really hope this breakdown helps you navigate the noise and find the right support for your body. It is an exciting time for botanical medicine. To learn more, please visit us at backtoyourrootsherbs.com. The direct link for information on best herbs for cortisol in 2026 is in the description below. Thanks for listening, and here is to your health.